There isn't anything in this world that gets me as hot and bothered more than the topic of Left 4 Dead 3. And every single time I revisit it, I am reminded of the timeline we could be living in. If Valve actually decided to cook something more than just 2 times, maybe we would all be eating good. But nah, like starved children begging for just one breadcrumb, like a kid with cystic fibrosis gasping for air, a crippled face to face with a staircase. The only thing we could do here in this situation is pray. And no, not to Jesus, but rather a far more powerful God, the creator of all things good and evil. Gabe Newell. We live in a time of countless zombie video games at every turn. Bam! World War Z. Bam! Project Zomboid. Bam! Dying Light, and all certified banger zombie games, right? But what they don't mention is there is unwritten text to our zombie genre Bible. There are plenty more soulless zombie games that far outnumber the amount of zombie genre blockbusters. What we find ourselves coming face to face with isn't just a staircase. No, it's a mountain of shit, and very few games sit upon the throne that rest on top of said mountain. But there is no doubt in my mind that the Left 4 Dead games both share that seat together. We so desperately need to cleanse the stigma of the zombie genre in gaming. It's been so far polluted that we almost forget where it came from, where the roots of the genre lie. Zombie games have become underwhelming and oversaturated, causing so many people to burn out on the genre and leaving possibly forever. But what is it that can save zombie games? We've seen hidden gems like Dead Island 2 or Dying Light 2 postpone the inevitable collapse of the zombie empire, but it's going to take something much more powerful than a hidden gem to save the zombie genre. It's going to take a diamond in the rough. So where does that bring us? Back to the zombie IP that popularized the genre from the start, from the beginning, Left 4 Dead. It's been 15 years since the last Left 4 Dead game. You start to forget the things you should remember, and you start to remember the things you should forget. 15 years is a lot of time to do the impossible. When I talked previously about Left 4 Dead 3, I said it would be pointless to make because a sequel needs to be better than the previous game. But because Left 4 Dead 2 was already perfect, you can't perfect the formula even more. And today I am here to tell you why I was wrong. Left 4 Dead as an IP is powerful enough to bring back hundreds of thousands of gamers and make them fall in love with the zombie genre all over again. The IP has enough loyal people to play the game no matter what. The IP is strong enough to capture the nostalgia of thousands more. And Left 4 Dead is just so iconic of an IP that it could generate hype unlike any other zombie game before it. But it's not just about the hype, because we all know we can't believe it. Valve would have every opportunity to show us that they are back and better than ever. The amount of time that has passed would show us that they too can evolve with the times. Gaming has changed so much since 2009 that the idea of a Left 4 Dead 3 is almost scary. The risk of Valve's reputation would be on the line, especially when revisiting such a beloved game after making us wait so long for a new entry. But they have proven themselves in the eyes of their fans far more than enough times for the general audience to not really have to worry about it. Left 4 Dead 3 would be a perfect opportunity to return the zombie genre back to its roots, with handcrafted level design filled with life and atmosphere, to flawless run and gun gameplay, fast-paced and smooth enough to account for all sorts of playstyles. Bringing back the game director would be such an effective way to keep the game feeling fresh, just like it used to, while also being able to use modern hardware to their advantage. This would be able to make the typical game-to-game AI director even more unique than the previous version. In the modern era of gaming, sequels no longer improve upon the original games. What they do is they just take what works and they throw it right out the window in the name of innovation. But we don't just need new things at the cost of old. What we need is more of what worked in the first place and an innovation to that formula that would only improve it even more. Taking the zombie genre of gaming that has often become over-complex, we tend to forget just how simple zombie games really should be at their heart. What made games like Left 4 Dead 1 and 2 so popular was that it had an incredibly low skill floor, allowing everyone to be able to enjoy the game regardless of the amount of hours they put into it. Even my mom, who hasn't touched a game in 20 years, was able to play 2 hours of Left 4 Dead 2 with me, and she had a great time. But just as important as the skill floor is the skill ceiling. Left 4 Dead allows players to truly perfect their runs and be a master of their craft. The casual players can play this game endlessly over and over again without ever feeling overwhelmed with extra nonsense like damage numbers or perk cards or player builds and so on. When taking a look at what games have become, the visual becomes more clear than ever that we have lost the simplicity that makes zombie games what they are. Even the games that do their best to imitate the Left 4 Dead formula, such as World War Z and Back 4 Blood, well, they all fall flat in those aspects. Nothing about Back 4 Blood plays like Left 4 Dead outside of the level structure of getting from point A to point B. The issue is that Back 4 Blood didn't entirely try to be their own game and instead tried to appeal to the Left 4 Dead audience and a completely new audience at the same time. When you can't commit to one thing, you tend to fail at everything. And no matter how much I say I love Back 4 Blood for what it is, part of me will always hate it for what it is not. It's not the Left 4 Dead successor that it tried to be, and it only further shows that any game that decides to attempt a shot at recreating Left 4 Dead will lose focus on the goal of simplicity and replayability. Though I will always fear modern gaming practices like battle passes and paid DLC and hope they wouldn't affect the life cycle of Left 4 Dead 3, I can't help but feel like they would be prioritized. Maybe I need to learn to just trust the process, maybe just a little bit. But if there's anyone who might be able to pull off the perfect balance of simple, fun, and replayable, well, it would be Valve. Left 4 Dead sets an example that very few games are capable of setting, and that's the concept of being timeless. And maybe that's what makes Left 4 Dead so good in the first place, that no matter how many decades pass, the game will always make me feel right at home where I belong. That I could revisit these locations that I have countless memories on and walk away from it now with even more new stories to tell. I look at this franchise like I do a picture of my younger self, a visual representation of when life seemed a bit more vibrant and how maturity makes you see the beauty in simpler times. Left 4 Dead has what it takes to bring back the life into a genre slowly decaying. There's nothing I want more than just running through a new campaign with my friends and running for my life from, well, probably 3 special infected with my only weapon being a frying pan. Of course, a certified hood classic weapon. They really don't make games like this anymore, and maybe it's because that the game industry has become so much more revenue driven than passion driven. But there will always be a return to form one day, and I hope it's the franchise that built that form to begin with. When the world sees how successful Left 4 Dead 3 would be, then maybe enough people will come back to the genre and encourage other game developers to do the same with their IP by going back to their more simple roots. It's time to take a step back. A step back into our past and admire where we started this series, before looking at the giant mountain of shit and taking the first step in climbing it to the top. There are very few companies that can bring us forward to a new golden age. Our zombie empire is collapsing at a far faster rate than we can rebuild it, but Valve just might be able to fix that. Look, we don't just want a Left 4 Dead 3, we need Left 4 Dead 3. As a massive fan of zombie games, I promise Left 4 Dead 3 would do wonders for those who are into the same type of games that I am. For the people who come together through these zombie co-op experiences. I mean, these games defined our childhoods, and now they've become oversaturated with $30 bundles or microtransactions and loot boxes. I mean, COD Zombies doesn't even have main characters anymore. The story has become ass. I just want the zombie genre to go back to the way it was in the early 2010s. We need some sort of hope, a final chapter to close off our childhood zombies game before we lose sight of the very person these games allowed us to become. Hey everyone, I wanted to say thanks for watching. I know this is getting repetitive talking about this topic, but look at this video as a bookend to a trilogy of Left 4 Dead 3 videos. I try not to speak about future projects because I have massive commitment issues, but I do have ideas for future Left 4 Dead videos. But instead of focusing on Left 4 Dead 3, I will be focusing on the 2 existing games. With all of this being said, I would love for you guys to leave your thoughts in the comments below. I read and reply to all of them, and I really do hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you didn't, well, that's fine, that's cool, that's great. It doesn't matter to me. However, with all that being said, I'll catch you guys in the next one. So until then, piss off everyone.